Hey, it's an Ask Anything mailbag. As always, fired up to be with you. No questions are off limits. It's the off season, so we could be taking questions from every possible angle. That's what we love to do here. And let's not waste any more time. Could Ogbah and Howard be used to trade up during the draft? Referring to Emmanuel Ogbah, the defensive end, and Xavier Howard, the cornerback for the Dolphins. And in a word, no. Unfortunately, Emmanuel Ogbah is the highest paid player on the Dolphins roster by way of base salary, and his production was towards the very bottom. He took a backseat to guys like Jaelan Phillips when he was healthy, Bradley Chubb all season until that Week 17 injury against the Baltimore Ravens, and Andrew Van Ginkel all outperformed Emmanuel Ogbah at the defensive end position, despite Ogbah being the highest paid player on the Miami Dolphins. So if the Dolphins decide to cut Emmanuel Ogbah, they could save upwards of $18 million towards that cap deficit that they're in. And I think that's a more viable option for the team considering he played less than 20% of snaps. On the flip side, in terms of trade bait or trade value, nobody wants Emmanuel Ogbah on the team because he costs a lot and he doesn't do anything. So nothing personal against Emmanuel Ogbah, but he is about as little appealing or has about the least amount of appeal on the trade market as I can think of in just about anybody. And as for Xavier Howard, nothing personal again, but I think his best days are behind him. He showed signs of aging. He showed signs of being injury prone. And maybe that's not fair, but at the end of the day, the guy was injured for a lot of games, missed 5 games this past season, and seemed to have lost a step from time to time. But he's been with the Dolphins since 2016, his entire career with Miami. Still has a couple of years left on his deal, but I don't think anybody's, breaking down the door to have Xavier Howard play for their football team. Every Noodle, one of the realest of the real. Welcome to Dolphins Today. Great to see you in the comments and asking some questions. What tight end prospects could Miami target in the draft? Now, I love this question. I proposed a monumental trade for Brock Bowers, who is the tight end for the Georgia Bulldogs, which could be a huge deal to move up to probably within the top 10. But I don't think anybody really liked that trade proposal I put together. But he's obviously the top tight end on the board. And some mock drafts even have him falling to the the mid to late first round. And if he does fall all the way to 21, I would love grabbing Brock Bowers, but I know there's more pressing needs than the luxury pick of a tight end. You got Jatavian Sanders out of Texas. He could be a guy to keep your eye on. Now, Jared Wiley out of TCU is interesting. I went to a couple of TCU games this past season, and he's just such a big body and really had kind of that old school tight end feel to him. A lot of times in the day and age of tight ends now, they're so athletic, and that's not a knock on them, but they're like, more of the receiver type, whereas Jared Wiley looked like that true old school tight end, big blocking guy that also can be a threat in the passing game. I like Cade Stover out of Ohio State as well. Obviously, Ohio State with a long track record of producing NFL talent, especially at the wide receiver / tight end position. And Eric All out of Iowa. I know Iowa really struggled on offense, but my goodness, talk about tight end you. Just simply the fact that Eric All played tight end at Iowa, was a transfer from Michigan, had some good years with the Wolverines as well. Just the fact that you played tight end at Iowa makes me interested because look at the tight ends that have come out of Iowa. Sam Laporta, George Kittle, Noah Fant. I know I'm going to be missing some. There's other tight ends that have come out of Iowa, but TJ Hawkinson, I knew that was the one I was trying to think of. But the list goes on of tight ends that have come out of Iowa. It truly is tight end you. So for Eric All, the only thing I'll say about Eric All is when he left Michigan, he had some of the dramatic tweets of, everybody turned their back on me. And it's like, dude, just toughen up and go play football. And so that would be one thing I didn't necessarily love about Eric All when he left Michigan. But maybe people at Michigan did really let him down. But again, I want to know who you love, and I love Factor, America's #1 meal delivery service, and they're a proud presenting sponsor of today's show. So shout out to Factor, and here we are already through the month of January. Who can believe it? It's hard to believe, but you know what? No matter what the month is, Factor is there to help you reach your goals, and not just your New Year's resolutions, but I'm talking about making choices that lead to success. choices like healthy meals that are dietitian approved, fresh and never frozen. And oh, by the way, they're delicious and convenient. Take only 2 minutes to heat up and then you're ready. And probably the best part, at least the best part for me, you say goodbye to annoying trips to the grocery store. I hate going to the grocery store. You say goodbye to the cleanup as well. I hate doing the dishes. Honestly, that's one of my least favorite things to do. My girlfriend and I fight all the time about who has to do the dishes, but not when we have Factor because there's no cleanup required. And oh, by the way, these meals are delivered straight to your door. They taste great. They're healthy, dietitian approved, fresh, never frozen. And because we love you and we care about you, we're offering 50% off when you use our code. So don't take my word for it. Head to factormeals.com/FinsChat50 and use code FinsChat50 to get 50% off. That's 50, baby. Hard to believe, but yes, half off, 50% off with that code FinsChat50. And yes, we love you and we care about you, so we'll put that link right in the comments and description of today's video. So we make it easy on you. Head to factormeals.com/FinsChat50 and use code FinsChat50 to get 50% off. That's code FinsChat50 at factormeals.com/FinsChat50. This one's coming in from Christine Wilkerson. Should we re-sign Conor Williams or just let him walk? Feel like he's a better guard than center. Interesting, Christine, because I think Conor Williams performed at a very, very high level. I won't necessarily say Pro Bowl level before he was injured, but it's an interesting point about the guard versus center combination because sometimes he did have some errant snaps. Go back to that first game against the Chargers. He had a couple of quarterback exchange issues. Obviously, the game against the Chiefs in Germany, that final fourth down play, some said was a bad snap. But when you evaluate Conor Williams as the blocker, he only had 2 sacks allowed in his 10 games. The Dolphins were a significantly better offense with him in the lineup as the center. And I think he's versatile enough to play guard. So maybe you bring in a guy like Jackson Powers-Johnson out of Oregon. You put him at center, Conor Williams at guard, and that is a mean interior component to the offensive line that I would really like. Now, the contract details is something you have to work out because we know the Dolphins are not in a great space as far as the cap situation. But if Conor Williams is a guy that you invest in, and Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier and the rest of the front office deem this guy as somebody to build around, the statistics back it up. Because Conor Williams played in 9 games this year, and Conor Williams missed 9 games this year. The Dolphins' record with Conor Williams, 7-2. Without him, 5-4. So, again, not saying Conor Williams just equates to victories, but obviously the team played better with him in the lineup. So, I think you sign him. Let me know what you think. Down in the comments, what would you do with Conor Williams? Type S for sign or P for pass. Tua's touchdowns. What's going to happen with Tua? Great question. If the season started today, which it doesn't, there's a very, very long offseason in front of us, but Tua would be playing on his rookie deal still, but the 5th year of that rookie deal that the club exercised, and he'd be set to make about $23.2 million. And stop me if you've heard this one before, but the Dolphins are not in a good cap space. So the idea of the quarterback playing in his 5th year of that rookie deal, making $23.2 million, I don't think is the best case scenario for neither Tua nor the club. I think a new offer would allow the Dolphins to save some money and also allow Tua to make some more money while showing that they've invested in him over the long haul. So I think you restructure it and show that Tua is your guy, but it's not the type of deal that's going to be Joe Burrow money or any of the new quarterback deals that are setting the standard or setting the ceiling for quarterback deals. I think it's going to be kind of a middle-of-the-pack deal for a 4-year, 180, about is the number I have in my head, $100 million guarantee. I think that would satisfy the Dolphins. I think it would satisfy Tua and his camp, and I think it would also show that, hey, he proved that he can play in 17 games with the most passing yards in the NFL. We can't forget about that. And I know he didn't win a lot of the big games, and that's what the first comment on this video, the first comment on the next video, every comment on any Tua video is he didn't win the big games. But you know what? There's more than just the quarterback. I think in a lot of ways, leading the NFL in passing yards says a lot. He was tied for 5th most touchdowns. He had the 2nd best completion percentage with quarterbacks that threw at least 500 attempts. So there's enough there for me statistically. And Riepma, we hate statistics. I know, I read every comment. But you still have to put some sort of proof in the pudding in the sense that Tua played in every game this season, played all 17 games, orchestrated a top-level offense that finished 2nd in scoring offense and with the most passing yards. So there's enough substance there to invest in the guy for the next several years without breaking the bank. And again, that $180 million over 4 years, I think, is where I keep landing that would satisfy both camps. What do you think we should do with Tua? Should Miami offer him a new contract extension or maybe experiment with the trade market? Maybe somebody else wants Tua, or maybe you just sign somebody new. There's going to be some free agent quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins among them is the name that comes to mind. But let me know down in the comments, do you want Tua to get a contract extension, yes or no? From Champion 2038, do you think we can pick up Henry in free agency this year? Yeah, that was interesting a couple weeks ago when Derrick Henry said he always wanted to play for the Dolphins. And I think in a perfect world, yeah, bring in a big name like Derrick Henry. Obviously, that would help. He'd want to be there. He is a dominant goal line back that finds his way into the end zone. And despite Miami and Raheem Mostert having a breakout year, they weren't great in short yardage situations this year, which Derrick Henry would certainly help. But you also limit yourself when you're the Miami Dolphins in really not having any available cap space, being $40 million in cap deficit, to really experiment with the free agent market. And here's a look at the 2024 running back market as far as free agency. There are some big names on there. Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, my goodness, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler. These are noteworthy names. These are franchise-changing names, and while they've put up incredible statistics, I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be major players, because the other side of the coin is I like this Dolphins running back room. Devon Achane with the breakout year as a rookie, Raheem Mostert setting a franchise record for the most rushing touchdowns, and even Jess Wilson Jr., going back to that Cowboys game, he had the game-sealing run that got him a first down and allowed them to run the rest of the clock out for that game-winning field goal. So I like the Dolphins running back room. If they could find a way to make it fit with Derrick Henry, and he wants to be a Dolphin, sure, go for it, but I just don't think realistically that's a possibility. All right, the season might be over, but the content never stops. We told you about our goal to get to 58,000 subscribers by the end of this month. Can we do it? I believe in you. I believe in each and every one of us to help Dolphins Today get there. So tell a friend about the channel, the largest Dolphins YouTube channel on the internet, and we are welcoming all. Welcome one, welcome all. If you don't love it, try it for a week, unsubscribe. It'd break my heart, but you know what? I think you'll like what you see because we bring you every angle covering the Miami Dolphins every single day on Dolphins Today.